Good evening, members and supporters of CAG. I am Jean Card, the founder of the communications consulting firm Jean Card Inc. But tonight, I am, like so many of you, a CAG volunteer. I'm very much looking forward to moderating the final segment of tonight's program, your Q&A session with Mayor Muriel Bowser. I know that many of you have already noticed that there is an opportunity to enter your questions into the Q&A box. You'll see it at the bottom of your screen. Thank you for the questions that have already come in. We look forward to getting to as many of those as the mayor's time will allow. So keep them coming. We'll do the best we can. The mayor also has some members of her team here tonight who can help answer questions. So we expect a robust session of Q&A. Everyone's looking forward to it. I know this is the highlight of our evening. So let's get going. First, we're going to hear from Mayor Bowser with a few remarks, and then we'll get into the Q&A. Mayor Bowser.
Jane, thank you. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Oh, that explains it. Let's see. I think the host, it says, I'm getting a message that says the host has stopped my video. Let me try one more time.
There you are.
Okay.
Well,
good evening, Jean. Thank you for the introduction, and let me thank the Madam President and all the officers on CAG. And I had a chance to watch the early part of your program, and let me congratulate you on another fantastic annual meeting. I won't talk long because I know there are questions, and I want to save as much time as possible for those questions. But let me thank you, residents and businesses of Georgetown, for the huge sacrifices that you have made over the last 15 months that the district has been responding to this pandemic. You should be very proud of how your government agencies and leaders have responded, because I certainly am. Our departments of health and Homeland Security, along with a host of agencies, has allowed us to work with our community to crush this virus, to maintain a robust public health system, and put ourselves in the position for a safe reopening. I was very proud yesterday to be able to report, because of all of our hard work and sacrifice as a community, that we will be able to substantially lift restrictions in the district on May 21st and completely lift restrictions on June 11th. And that's because we've driven down our case rates, but it's also because people continue to get vaccinated. What we want to make perfectly clear is that residents and businesses still have to act responsibly. And the most responsible thing that everyone can do is get vaccinated. If they are vaccinated, then share with family and friends in your networks how they can get vaccinated. And the second thing is to continue to wear a mask. We are adhering to CDC guidelines, and for most cases, wearing a mask while we're inside or outside in crowds. And that's what will keep us safe and allow us to keep our cases down and to keep our city open. So I want to thank you for all that you've done. I know that your council member spent some of her time talking about a very important season in the district, and that's the budget season. This will be our second budget during the pandemic, but I'm grateful for the strong economic position that the district goes into this budget season with. Some of that is because of the very significant investments made in the American Rescue Plan. And it is also in large part because of our sound financial stewardship. So I will present a balanced budget to the council at the end of May. The council will then go into its series of meetings and hearings. and then the council will vote on my budget proposal. It is true that the council members frequently send me a list of things that they know are important for their individual wards or for the budget or the council committees that they chair. I do my very best to include many of those items in my proposal. I'm sure you can imagine that the list is long and the money ask is even bigger. So it is impossible to accommodate all of those asks. The council, of course, has the final vote on the budget, and frequently they too move around monies from my proposals to invest in the things that are important to them. Let me kind of round out my remarks by saying that we are kind of in phase 2 going into phase 3 of our recovery. The first was the immediate response to the emergency, providing relief to our residents and businesses, which we've done in a very substantial way, recovering by reopening and making sure that people are getting vaccinated, and finally, also focusing on how we can continue to grow in the city, to grow as a city, going from where we were pre-pandemic to growing revenues, growing housing, growing residents, and growing jobs. And that's what you can expect to hear from us in the budget that I will present to the council. Let me just rest on a couple of key things that I want to call to your attention as well. We are very focused on schools recovery. I announced some weeks ago that our schools will open and they will open 5 days a week for all kids, which is incredibly important to our recovery. I notice also that my team has included some public safety concerns that you've raised for us. And I think it's very, very important to talk to your council member about the public safety needs of Georgetown and what we need for the Metropolitan Police Department. Unfortunately, last year, the council defunded the police and it made it such that we could not hire this year. And there's a movement among members to not have us hire again this year or for 5 years, which would mean our police force in the course of a couple of years could go from 3,800 to about 3,100. So it's really, really important that we stay focused on what we need as a city for public safety. In addition to doing the non-law enforcement things that we need to do to keep people safe, we also need to have the police officers well-trained, well-staffed, so that they can support our neighborhoods. And I want you to just keep that in mind as we have our budget discussions. Finally, I know, and we have talked in previous years about our attention to how Georgetown's commercial corridor will recover. And we will continue to work with the Georgetown Mid, work with my Office for Planning and Economic Development on plans that will not only get those storefronts activated, but have a long-term plan for how we will continue to make Georgetown a robust and thriving location. And a lot of that has to do with transportation, how we use our public space, and how we attract activity. So with that, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Well, let's get started with something, of course, pandemic related. There's been a real change in Georgetown and other places around DC this year with the advent of streeteries. What is going to happen with streeteries? Are they here to stay?
Well, I think yes, in some form. And certainly, like many things pandemic related, we had a quick pivot. And we did everything that we could to give people safe places to social distance, but also safe places to patronize our restaurants and retailers. And the feedback has been pretty wonderful, I have to tell you. I was in Georgetown today, even, and able to see the streeteries that support the ice cream parlors, and see the streeteries and how people have stretched out even along the waterfront. And so that's a good thing. And it has been a lifeline for those businesses. As we look to make some things more permanent, we will be looking to balance any negative effects that we've seen from the streeteries. But certainly it has been a boon, I think, for how to better use or use differently our public space. The one thing that I know that is coming out of our response to the pandemic, it gives us an opportunity to really assess how we use the public space, especially if we need to use as much for cars, and if we can use more for people to be out in the community, walking, dining, shopping, exercising, and enjoying each other. So there's a balance that we're certainly working to strike.
Well, that of course is one of the questions from the people of Georgetown is what about the parking? The streeteries impact parking, and what are the parking options in light of this significant change in availability of parking?
Well, we know we have good amounts of parking in Georgetown that aren't being used, and we have to think about how to have that discussion about the commercial parking that's available, that's frequently daytime parking, and how some of that parking can be used for at other times.
Okay, thank you for that answer. It's of
Mhm.
great interest to folks here in Georgetown.
I'm
Now,
sure.
you mentioned earlier, you talked quite a bit about growth and the importance of growth in the city and the reality of empty storefronts. Could you give us a little more detail as to what the plan is to revitalize the economy, especially on those thoroughfares where we have so many empty storefronts, for example, M Street?
Well, I think that our growth plan is certainly about retailers and storefronts, but it's also about office jobs and the vacancies that we're experiencing. Even we had some concern pre-pandemic, and we definitely have it now. What we see, and we're not unlike other cities like ourselves, and what I think we have to have a new look at it, however, because what we know is that people are going to live and work differently post-pandemic. They won't be the same trips to the office, we think. There may be there's smaller offices, densified offices is the word that a lot of people are using, which of course affects retail. So fewer daytime workers means fewer people going to the Starbucks or going to the clothier or going to the dry cleaner or nail salon, or all of the things that we expect to see in a robust neighborhood serving retail corridor. So we are focused on how to attract those workers. And I have to tell you, I've had this conversation with a number of the council members. We can no longer think that companies won't leave the district because we're the district. That they won't go to Virginia, or they won't go to Maryland, or they won't go out of the region entirely, because the way people are approaching work now, they can make a lot of different choices about their location. So what I've asked my team to do is work on a robust set of tools, economic development tools, incentives, tax relief, you name it. We want to have a toolbox that will allow us to go after every company and pitch them on why they should be in the district. So that's very important. For our retailers, we've been pretty specific about identifying the types of retail or industry that we need on our commercial corridors. Your bid is very good at this. And working also with our agencies. We have an economic development team that focuses on attracting retail. So we will re-engage all of those processes post-pandemic and identify the retailers we need to go after. What Georgetown has been so successful at is having a variety of retailers that both attract people from outside of the neighborhood, but are very good at serving the neighborhood. And so we know that we can get from your neighborhood champions in the bids and the main streets that support your area and the surrounding area to help us in identifying that. So 2 prongs, long answer to your question. How do we attract office workers and the companies that we don't want to see leave the district, or if they're leaving another jurisdiction, we want them to find a home here. And secondly, focusing on neighborhood serving retail, working with your local organizations.
Thank you. We really look forward to hearing more about an incentives program or what comes next. We look forward to hearing more in the future on that.
You bet.
As, everybody wants revitalization. So let's get really specific now. I know you won't be surprised by this next question about the canal project. Can you give us an update, please?
Well, certainly, we're excited about it. I worked, it was also a favored project by Councilmember Evans, and we've worked hand in hand over a number of years to make sure that we're supporting the National Park Service and its vision. I think they approved their plan in 2020. I know some work has been done to shore it up. We made an investment, I believe, in helping the boat kick off. And I think there's an additional ask from the city to support the project. And I think I'll look at that favorably, and we'll do all that we can to demonstrate to the Park Service that we're good partners.
Okay. I want to get back to something you said in your remarks, of course, about public safety. And you know, that's a big pillar of what CAG delivers to its membership.
Good.
Tell us a little more about, give us an update essentially of crime in Georgetown, if you would.
Well, we know that we've gotten some reports. I can't say that we think that it's outsized reports of crime in Georgetown. Certainly, we know that any reports of robbery, burglary, loitering are problematic. We know that a lot of residents are concerned, as we are, about homelessness and how that makes people feel less safe. And so if I could identify the one issue that I know would make people safer, and that is dealing with homeless and homeless encampments. And we've been pretty focused on that as well. And I may have talked to you about this in previous times. How we address encampments is not perfect because of how delicate the legal issues are. And it has been made even more delicate by the public health emergency. My team, I've asked to kind of regroup on the issue to make sure we're getting people the help that we need, but we have to maintain hygienic and safe places throughout our neighborhood. So part of what I'll ask the Ward 2 team to do, my MOKers team, is to make sure that we have collected from you all of your major concerns. What I was mentioning in my remarks, however, was a more global issue about making sure we have enough police. There is, and I think that we're at a critical point. Going a year without hiring at MPD, given that they, with retirements and resignations, lose about 300 officers a year, you can just see, given 1 year, that your net numbers can go down pretty quickly. So the support that we're looking for is to make sure the members of the council know that the police need what they need. And there's no way to continue to take their numbers down without seeing some decrease in their level of service. So either we have fewer police in certain districts, either they work fewer hours, or they're working overtime, or their levels of response time decrease. All of those things are possible when you see your numbers go down.
So when the citizens of Georgetown want to know, what is the city doing to decrease crime in Georgetown, is your answer increasing police?
If that's what the police chief thinks would be helpful, absolutely it would be. Because we're going to deploy according to what the chief and the commander say we need. I don't know that that's been the response at this point, but certainly patrols for the types of crime that is reported in Georgetown, presence matters. And I don't know what else to say about that, but when you have if street crime is the concern, presence matters.
Well, speaking of streets, I would say one of the most popular questions that we've had in the Q&A submissions tonight is about sidewalks next to the streets. The porous flexible pavement, the PFP, that's being used to repair sections of sidewalk that have been damaged by the roots of trees. There's a lot of concern about this material. What is the plan? What is it? Can you please give us some background and some answers around PFP?
Yeah, so I have to tell you, my team did give me a quick briefing on this. I hadn't been aware of the contention in the neighborhood around it. And is this is on hold now?
No, Mayor, actually, we started installing the porous flexible paving yesterday. We have about a few more sites to install over this upcoming week.
Okay. So this is Everett Lott talking. He's our DDOT director. And I'm assuming that we've had to put down some pavement because of risk of injury, because of the brick pavers that were in disrepair because of the tree roots.
That's correct. So there's many mature trees, which is a characterization of the Georgetown neighborhood. And over time, those have grown and the root systems have pushed up the brick sidewalks as a result. And in those instances where those roots have been displaced or the bricks have been displaced, the sidewalk has become hazardous and has become more of a safety issue. And so we're responsible for maintaining the safe and equitable access through any of our public spaces, including our sidewalks. And so we must comply also with the American Disabilities Act of 1990, which sets the standards for equal access. And so we had a responsibility because of the safety aspect of it to replace that. And so the use of porous flexible pavement has been determined to be the best product to use, a product that we can actually maintain, and also that provides safe access in the Georgetown neighborhood. And we've used this throughout this district in other historic neighborhoods such as Capitol Hill as well, and it's really received very positive reviews.
Can you give a little better explanation, Director, perhaps, of what this substance is? What is it made of? I think there are environmental concerns as well as aesthetic concerns.
So porous flexible paving, which we commonly refer to as PFP, it's a highly porous, non-cracking, insulating, and flexible construction type material that's composed of recyclable tires and aggregate. It's the best practice application to locations affected by trees. And so one of the reasons that we do use this is because we want to also protect our tree and our tree canopy in the district. And so we have to have something that is porous that allows for the water to seep through. So it does protect our trees. And so it's a tire aggregate that we have used. And we've used this throughout the district, and it's something that's commonly used throughout the country.
Jean, let me ask you, has the Old Georgetown Board suggested an alternative?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to it, but we will let you
Okay.
know. We will
All
get
right.
back to you. I know I'm seeing a lot of questions in the Q&A about, is it permanent? Could it be made to look more like brick? But we'll let you know kind of what the board of the organization is talking about.
Okay, so that's we will certainly DDOT doesn't set out to make you unhappy, certainly, but we also we can't have people tripping on the bricks that the trees are pushing up, or know that the trees are going to continue to push up the bricks and just keep putting back the bricks. So if there's some alternative, let me commit to you to continue to think through it and work through it for future needs.
Thank you. Let's definitely stay in touch on this issue and others. I want to be mindful of your time and the time of your team. We are at the point where we've covered kind of the most asked questions. Is there anything that we've missed that you'd like to share with the residents of Georgetown before we bid you all good evening?
I don't think so. I think that that we've covered a lot. We will continue to stay in touch with. Please stay in touch with my MOCers, and all the agency directors are happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser,
thank you.
And
thank
you
you
to your
guys.
team. And this is the end of our program, everyone. The members and supporters of CAG, thank you so much for participating tonight. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your time. Don't forget to vote for board members, and don't forget to volunteer with CAG at cagtown.org. Thank you all for being here tonight, and have a nice evening.
Thank you.